What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of The Sav Show. My name is Savilian. I'm the host of this show, and today I'm talking about beginning with the end in mind. Yes, that's right. So I put out a newsletter, The Sunday Sav, every Sunday. You can receive it by clicking on a link down below, subscribing to The Sunday Sav, the newsletter, free newsletter that I put out every Sunday. You can also subscribe to my podcast if you want, YouTube, podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you want. Please share, leave a review. If you like what you hear, leave a review. Let me know. Let me know what's up. If you don't like it, let me know. Let me know what's up. Anyway, so I'm talking about beginning with the end in mind. One of the most important skills I've begun to develop in recent years has been the ability to apply some forward thinking. Now, things like, what would it look like if I did X, Y, Z? How would I feel if I went ahead with X, Y, Z? I call it a skill because it is something I've had to develop. See, earlier in life, I had a very short thought to reaction loop. It looked something like this. Have a thought, act on the thought, worry about it later. Now, just a quick little tangent on this. So I know this is it seems like pretty glaringly obvious for most people, right? Like thinking about how you want a certain situation to end up, being conscious of the moves and the actions you're taking and weighing them up before you actually go ahead with it. I'll be real. I'm just going to be vulnerable and honest right now. That is not something that I've done frequently in my life. Actually, maybe ever. Definitely not in my in my 20s, probably not in my early 30s. Only very, very, very recently have I begun to apply some of this forward thinking and genuinely start to think about things before I do them, and just not react, not have a thought and react instantly. Admittedly, still can plague me from time to time, but I'm talking like that was my default. Like, have a thought, react, do something, and then process it later. Worry about it later. Like if I have to come back to it, I'll come back to it. If not, whatever. Look, I'm not going to say it's a right or wrong way to live. It's just different. And I'll talk a little bit more about that now. So this method led me down some fun paths. It took me to some interesting places. I met some great people. I learned a fair bit about myself and the world around me. But this software was flawed from inception, and a reboot had very much been in order. Yeah, you could easily put it down to growing up, maturity and old age, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, a lot of this has been contextual based on where I am in life, but a lot of it is specific to me because I've done the work to strengthen this muscle, because I say that intentionally. Like, this is a muscle, the ability to have this forward thinking and to begin with the end in mind. That is a muscle that I've had to strengthen. Now, let me preface the next part with saying this very necessary caveat. I haven't figured it out yet. I by no means mastered this system, okay? But what I can say is that the average daily, weekly, monthly amount of bad choices I'm making has decreased significantly. And that's where I'm speaking on. I'm speaking from that place of being a guy who thought, react. There was almost no space in between those two things. There was no space in between an emotion and a reaction, okay? It was just emote, react. And that's just how I live my life. Now I'm speaking from a place of occasionally that does happen. Occasionally it is all right, emotion, reaction. It's like I don't even finish the word emotion before I start the word reaction. Emotion, reaction, right? There is still a little bit of that for sure. It still does get me in trouble for sure. But has that decreased significantly on average, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, whatever? Yes, it has. And that's where I'm speaking from, okay? Not as a person who's figured it out, but as a person who's learning and is wanting to share a little bit of that here. Okay. So I'm not sharing from the place of a guy who has figured it out, but from the place of a person aware of aware of where he has been and conscious to improve and on where he's going. Okay, so what does this adjustment look like, you say? It looks like this. 1. So before I had basically 2.5 steps. Have a thought, react, potentially process it, worry about it later if I have to, whatever, right? Now it looks like this. Have a thought, ponder the validity of the thought, consider if it's the best thing on a balance of probabilities, take a decisive action, live with any and all outcomes of that action, and then decipher whether I can make better decisions next time. Okay, so as you can see, there's a lot more stuff going on, a lot more steps, a lot more deliberate, a lot more thoughtful. And yeah, I'm not just diving headfirst into things and just, hoping it all works out. I'm being a little bit more deliberate about this, and I'm putting things in place and practices in place to make sure that's what it looks like. So now when I impose with a potential choice outside the normal broadcasting on my day-to-day life, I run through that thought exercise. I really weigh it up. I don't dive in head first. Sometimes, most of the time. This purposeful attention to detail does two things, right? Number one, it gives me a couple of different ways I can handle any particular situation, making me more flexible and not bound to my reactions. So, when I weigh it up like this, when I look at things like this, I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I could get angry, or I could just walk away, or I could, stand my ground and kind of be a little bit staunch, but not in an emotional kind of way. It gives me options, right? It makes me a little bit more flexible, and it doesn't make me a slave to any one particular thought, feeling, whatever. So I'm more in control. And two, it gives me the mental and emotional space to be able to make the right call and free myself from the stranglehold that emotion and reaction generally has on us. So it gives me freedom. It gives me freedom to know that nothing is going to fluster me to the point where I have to do something about it immediately. It gives me the space and the peace of mind to know that I can just put something down and just walk away from it. I don't have to own that as that's my, just because I feel a certain way about it doesn't mean I have to own it and hang on to it and walk around with it, right? So let me give you a couple of practical examples of where I may or may not have applied this skill in recent memory. These may be fictional. They may be non-fictional. I'll let you decide. But anyway, these are just a couple of scenarios that I may have applied it to. So scenario number one, I'll start training at a gym very close to my house and within my community, right? So that's important to note. This is a gym that's close to my home, in my community, a gym that I frequent and know a lot of people at, right? At the gym, I start talking to a young lady who has well and truly captured my attention. Instead of blindly following my emotions, reactions, and making an advance that could lead to long-term complications, I turn to my thought process to consider my options. All right, this could be fun. This could be sexy. This could be nice, but what if it doesn't work out? What if it's not exactly what I need right now? What if we don't get along? And then I'm just stuck with this kind of awkward interaction and a potential complication in a place of safety and sanctity for me. But also I could just make a friend out of this person. This person could be a really good friend of me, and we could get along really good and actually form a really nice bond, right? I would rather maintain a friendship and not have any potential drama attached to such a sacred space for me, giving myself just enough distance to make the right long-term play, right? So that's beginning with the end in mind. Not rushing straight into the first thought or reaction or feeling that I have, actually going, all right, what do I want the end of this to look like? Now, if this is a person that I'm wholeheartedly set on and I could see building something with, then sure, I make the advance and I carry on like that. But I got to go to the end first to go if that, obviously we're never going to know, but it's on a balance of probabilities. Do I think that what I know about myself, what I know about where I am in life, and what I know with the limited amount of knowledge that I have about this person, do I believe that something fruitful could be born or bared from this interaction or relationship? If yes, then sure, proceed. Open, do whatever you got to do. But if it's probably not, just given a whole bunch of different inputs to this context, if it's probably not, then just fucking don't. Just don't. It's okay to just not. It's okay to just put things down, to step back, to not have to pick them up, I don't have to pick that up. So that's scenario one. Scenario two, also maybe fictional, maybe not fictional. I'll let you decide. I'm complimented by someone I meet who congratulates me on my work ethic and skill set. They offer me an opportunity to work with them and for them. Of course, I'm flattered and at first drawn to the idea, but then I turn to my process. I give myself the time and space to act with the end in mind. With all of that considered, I realize that I will be serving someone else's dreams, not my own, and for this reason, I must decline. Again, it's like, you know, when we're kind of like bigged up, when people give us props and praise, it's very easy to go, oh, well, you know, like I could do that. I could. And this is a thing that I've done a lot in my life, and it has got me in a fair bit of trouble in my life is, you know, I just dive into things because I feel good about being complimented or I feel good that I belong in a certain space. So, you know, I go, yeah, okay, cool. Let's do that thing. Let's give it a crack. But I'm not like beginning with the end in mind. I'm not like thinking, all right, well, where do I want to get to and how am I going to get there? Will this thing aid me in getting there? If it doesn't, then that's cool. Just let it go. Just put it down. You don't have to have it, right? But if it will aid me, if it will benefit me, if this is a good long-term play, sure, pick it up. Let's roll. So in my earlier years, both of these exact scenarios would not only create complications, but would almost always result in my compliance. Emotion reaction, which would lead inevitably to my own unhappiness because I was not pursuing or building the things that I loved and the things that I wanted to build. I was building things that were like based on emotions and reactions and all these dumb things that humans do, right? Now, I am focused on building this very specific life for myself and nothing else. With this in mind, I hope that you can continue to do the same. Before you act, consider all the possibilities. Begin with the end in mind because once you get there, you will be happier that you did. All right, that's it for me this week, gang. Thank you for tuning into the Sav Show. My name is Savilian. Subscribe to the podcast if you haven't yet. Leave me a comment, leave me a review. Let me know what you think. If you want to see more content like this, let me know. If you got any suggestions for content that you would like to see, please let me know. Otherwise, stay safe. Begin with the end in mind, and I'll see you on next week's episode. Let's go.